antidepressants can actually be helpful for hot flashes. We use them in women who have a contraindication to hormone therapy for estrogen.
Okay.
So sometimes I will prescribe viloxifene or something for hot flashes, and it can be helpful. But like the rate of antidepressant use from a woman in her 20s to her 40s goes up 400%. So, and I'm like, wait a minute, not that many women are getting depressed, like we're just throwing antidepressants at menopause, and that's not the gold standard of therapy. So there's not evidence to say that women, or 4 times as many women, are getting depressed. That is not it. It's just we're overusing them in an effort to we're not understanding what is going on with her. So there's a total lack of education and training in diagnosing the nuances of perimenopause and menopause, recognizing the symptoms that may not be that common, and being able to discuss and offer treatment.
Welcome to the Good Life Coach podcast. I am your host, Michele Lamoureux. The intention of this show is to awaken you to your fullest potential. Join me each week for inspiring interviews to elevate an area of your life, as well as interviews with women entrepreneurs who are creating success on their own terms. Each episode provides actionable tips to guide you to design a life you love. Hey friends, it's Michele Lamoureux, and welcome back to the Good Life Coach podcast. Today you are in for a treat because I think many of us have that belly fat that we don't know what to do with, and we don't know how to manage the hormonal symptoms that are caused by perimenopause and menopause. And joining us today is a rock star OBGYN. Her name is Dr. Mary Claire Haver, and she's not only a GYN, but also a certified culinary medicine specialist, which is super cool. She developed her groundbreaking weight loss protocol as an online subscriber program through which she's helped thousands of women lose weight, burn fat, and get in shape permanently. Dr. Haver lives with her husband and 2 daughters in Galveston, Texas, and is the author of the wildly popular The Galveston Diet, apparently named after where you live. Welcome, Dr. Haver.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so thrilled to have you. And I just always do this if it's health related. Today's conversations for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not intended to be medical advice. So consult with your trusted healthcare provider. You've created quite a movement in a short period of time. I've had a lot of fun watching you and learning from you. I know that you have about 3 million followers on social, and you've had over 100,000 women go through your online program, which makes me so happy for you as like another woman, doing her thing in the world. But also what it says to me is that women were desperate for this information. Can you speak to this a bit?
Yes. So let's go back to 2016, 2017. I was in my late 40s. I was a traditional OBGYN. I also worked at an academic institution. So I divided my time between teaching medical students and residents, and then having kind of a very robust private practice. So plus at that time, my girls were like middle school and early high school. And, I was just busy, mom, working. I was like working at my limit, but I had been aging at the same time as my patients. So, I came out into practice. We all got pregnant together. We had babies together. We raised our kids together. It's a small town, with a big academic institution. And they were starting to complain of the same thing over and over again. I'm gaining weight. I don't know why. I'm gaining weight. I don't know why. I'm having some symptoms. I'm like, well, you're not menopausal yet. Now I do the blood work. You're not there yet. You're still having periods. There's nothing we can do. And because that's what I was taught. And so it took kind of happening to me when my menopause hit. I kind of had, and I talk about it in the book in more detail. My brother got really sick and passed away. I had gotten off of birth control right at that time to kind of see where I was at menopause wise in my late 40s. And it all kind of hit me at once. And my grief I expressed my grief, when he passed away as, just overeating, lots of processed carbohydrates, drinking way too much wine in the night just to get myself to sleep and not cry. And so put on 20 pounds from that. So then, once the grief lifted and I was ready to kind of get back into life, I went back to all the things that I told my patients to do and that I actually had done like after having kids to get the weight off, and it wasn't working. At the same time, I was having horrific menopausal symptoms, hot flash, the ones I could recognize right away, hot flashes, disrupted sleep was horrible, mood swings. I was having brain fog, but other things were happening that even as an OB-GYN, I did not recognize as potential menopausal symptoms. I was having tremendous hip and joint pain, and a new occurrence of headaches. And so I just was like, what's going on? I don't understand. I can't lose this weight, and so being type A, like doubled down at the gym. I was doing 2 days. I was calorie restricting to like 900 calories, like ridiculous amounts. And my husband had to like tap me on the shoulder and say, babe, I love you. I don't care what size you are. You look amazing. Da, da, da. He said, but you know what you tell us? You tell me and you tell the kids, you can't keep doing the same action and expect a different outcome. When you've been doing this for a while now, it's not working. So you're a smart girl, figure this out.
Wow,
and so I took that as a challenge.
Yeah.
Was like, all right. So I picked up the phone and called the PhD nutritionist at the university I was employed at the time, was like, what is going on in menopause? Why is this happening? And so that was the beginning, which brought me down this rabbit hole of what is happening to our bodies as far as nutrition. And so I learned a ton about chronic inflammation and how that begins to rise dramatically at the menopause transition. My menopause education had ended at my residency in 2002. And that was also the same year that the WHI study had come out, which basically scared everyone to death to never give hormone therapy.
Yeah.
And so, or we would kill people, Well, there's been evidence for years to discredit that, but no one talks about it. No one in my world was talking about it. It wasn't in the journals we were expected to keep up with and read to keep our certification up. And so I start just going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. And I'm like, we're doing this wrong. Like we've left a whole generation of women behind who are suffering probably needlessly, who could have so many options for treatment. All we're doing is telling them calories in, calories out. There's so much more to like maintaining your weight and homeostasis than just what, how many calories you're eating a day and how many you're burning. And so that's kind of how that was the brainchild, where it all began there. So from my research, I started looking at, how can I lower inflammation, chronic inflammation? Because I knew my hip was on fire with nutrition. And so that's kind of how I got the tenets of the nutrition program. So if I could go back in time and do anything different, it would be to not call it a diet. In medicine, diet is a pattern of eating. It is not, are you on a diet? It is, what is your diet?
Yes.
And so when I named it, I was thinking like Mediterranean diet, like no one poops on that,
True.
But I didn't know it would become this thing. I didn't know it would blow up. It was for my patients. I mean, it was for me and my girlfriends.
I love that.
So, and it was a medical thing. It was a prescription I was giving to my patients. And so here, try this. Let me know how it works. And it really grew absolutely organically and spontaneously from my clinic. And then when I took it to social media, it exploded. So for me on social, what happened with the millions of followers, what started as a conversation around nutrition and menopause and weight gain and body composition, all the changes that are happening, exploded into a just general conversation about menopause, the gaps in our knowledge, the gaps in our education, what's happening in society, why we're being dismissed, the ageism, the misogyny, the all the things, and I kind of lived in a bubble. I was a happy mom and, I had a nice little practice. And so I isolated myself and like to answer a very long answer to your question, I just saw my patients in the office. I didn't know what everyone else was going through. Yeah. My girlfriends didn't talk about it that much. My patients did complain. And I was like, we can do hormones, but there's a risk, eat less and work out more. I mean, it was just kind of this, sorry. And once I got on social media and read the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of comments about women's struggles, I was like absolutely blown away. And that has been my motivation to keep going with this. The nutrition program is there. It's great. It's wonderful. But like, I am like, I'm writing a new book on menopause and treatment options and therapy and what to expect, like something you would hand a 30-year-old woman to be like, get ready, read this. So you are informed, you know what your options are, you know what to look for. And so that you can make changes, build new habits that are going to keep you healthier through this transition.
Well, thank you for the work you're doing. And you're fun. You're so much fun. I'm not surprised that you're so popular. Like, do you have a theater background at all? Like you seem...
A tiny one. I do
I
actually.
see it in you. I was like, she
I
had
mean,
some
it was
theater
high
history.
school,
I just,
but
you do.
I was winning, oh God, I haven't even thought about that in so long. But, I was big in our drama stuff in high school, and I was like winning state tournaments and went to nationals a couple of times and was in a couple of movies, tons of commercials when I was
I knew
younger,
it.
and then went to med school,
I knew
so
it.
it's like, this is like the perfect, you get to use my doctor brain, my drama brain, and it's just, everything's come together now for me in my 50s. So
Yeah.
I don't know if poor Don Lemon is getting beat up right now for saying that we're not in our prime, but I'm like, all of this has been built from 49 plus for me.
I loved your post. I read it. And actually I had just seen him, that clip. And I was like, this is unbelievable that he's saying this, and you could see his co-anchor visibly upset. Did you see her? Like, she was like incredulous. She's like, did you just say that women
just come out of your mouth?
Yeah. Like you could see, I'll have to maybe link that in the show notes so people know what we're talking about, or just I'll link your comment on it because that was brilliant. But I had a feeling you had a theater background because I was like, there's something about the way you are in front of the camera that's so genuinely like natural and lit up in such a good way. I'm like, she's got some theater thing going on here. I had a feeling. So anyway, that was just a little tangent, but that was my own curiosity because I could see it in you. So I think it's so nice that you've taken all your different skill sets and combined them to like really empower women. I don't even know if I must be in perimenopause. I'm 52. I'm just starting to see symptoms, but I get a fairly regular period. So you had written in your book that, and I found this interesting, that every woman's experience with perimenopause is actually, it is different. So does this make it hard for women to get the care they need? Is this part of the disconnect we're seeing? Okay. Can you speak on this?
Absolutely. So several things are happening at this time. One, there's not a uniform presentation other than cessation of periods, right? But we've now identified about 40 symptoms that are absolutely linked to menopause. The other thing is that a lot of these symptoms can overlap other conditions. So hypothyroidism, autoimmune disease. So, and there's been this general dismissal. I wrote an essay about this and I'm kind of calling out myself, but I'll be honest and share it. When I was in medical school and training, when a woman in her 40s, came in 50s and was complaining of very vague symptoms of lethargy, being tired, not sleeping, maybe a hot flash or two, gaining weight, mood swings, we called it a WW.
What's that?
Whiny woman.
Oh, no. Thank you for being honest about that.
And I want to die now. I was taught to me. And so we didn't write it in the chart.
Can I just slow this down? Because seriously, you were literally taught this, in medical school?
It was something kind of just said in the back hallway. You would never write it in a chart. You would never, but it would be like, your colleague would say, hey, you got a WW in room 3, get ready. Because the thought was, this is an emotional thing. You're never going to get her better. It was immediate dismissal because this was she was depressed, or this was psychological. And this was not a medical thing. This was all in her head.
Oh, wow. That's really important. Thank you for sharing that. Because I think a lot of women are going to feel validated just by the fact that you said that. So,
and that's why like people are so quick to prescribe antidepressants in this situation. One, there is, antidepressants can actually be helpful for hot flashes. We use them in women who have a contraindication to hormone therapy for estrogen. Okay. So sometimes I will prescribe viloxifene or something for hot flashes, and it can be helpful. But like the rate of antidepressant use from a woman in her 20s to her 40s goes up 400%. So, and I'm like, wait a minute, not that many women are getting depressed. We're just throwing antidepressants at menopause, and that's not the gold standard of therapy. So there's not evidence to say that 4 times as many women are getting depressed. That is not it. It's just we're overusing them in an effort we're not understanding what is going on with her. So there's a total lack of education and training in diagnosing the nuances of perimenopause and menopause, recognizing the symptoms that may not be that common, and being able to discuss and offer treatment.
I am so grateful that you've stepped out of the conventional way of practicing, and like you're also educating, and you're like a social media influencer now and doing all this stuff, because what you're saying now, what you're doing online, the information you're sharing is validating women. It's empowering them with information that they can actually go to their doctors and have a better conversation around. And you're providing solutions through something they can control. In this case, we'll call it the Galveston lifestyle, if you want, instead of diet, because this is all within their reach. This is all within like the kitchen in a way, or just managing sleep and inflammation. And I want to get into this. But I also do see a trend because I've interviewed many different kinds of doctors on the show. And it seems like the medical system's been this patriarchal system. So much of the research has been historically on men only. And then it was just like in the 90s that, we should probably start studying women. and that takes a while to reach clinical practice, if I understand correctly.
Exactly. So the other thing that's happening in women's health is I did an experiment 2-3 weeks ago, and I was like, I wonder, let me see what happens here. So PubMed is a repository of research data, of research articles, and it's published by the National Institutes of Health, the NIH. And so whenever I'm looking for something, I go there, type in a search term, and then 10,000 articles come up, and I start digging.
Yeah.
I'm there every day. Okay. I go, I wonder for women's health, how much is pregnancy focus? I know, pregnancy is important. I'm not denying that. I learned that I can deliver a baby upside down, backwards, inside out. Like I've saved so many lives, not to be dramatic, but like very, very important stuff. So I typed in the word pregnancy, and so this is articles from the 1700s. Like they go back as far as research articles have been made.
Okay.
1.1 million articles on pregnancy research, like peer-reviewed research articles. Like, yay. Okay.
Yes.
So then I just typed in menopause, 94,000.
Wow.
So it's about 10 to 1, a little more than 10 to 1. Yeah. And that holds even in the last 10 years. So why are we investing our brain research, our time, our energy, our money into pregnancy and when more women are going to go through menopause than bear children, and we can make just as much of an impact on a woman's health in her menopause because she spends a third of her life there, and we can dramatically improve the quality of her life, and every single article on menopause that is published in the last 10 years says we need more research. We need more research.
Well, you've done it with you've got a roadmap for nutrition, and because your plan can actually help reduce hot flashes, help women sleep, get rid of the belly fat. I love my doctors. I have to say, I feel like I'm in good care. However, one of them told me, I asked her, I said, hey, this last year, I'm just getting this like belly, like it seems like the weight is redistributed. It wants to be around my belly and on my backside. And she said, well, there's nothing you can do about the belly fat, but that's not true.
That's not true. That's not true. So we definitely see, there's a really elegant article, and it's on my social right now, where I talk about where they followed 1,700 women. It was the swans. They looked at the swan data. That's another big, big, big study done on women. And they followed them for years. And 1,700 women, and they followed them for, I think, 17 years from pre-menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause, right?
Okay.
And they followed their weight and their BMI. They also put them in DEXA scanners and measured their body fat their body composition. So what we know is there's a linear rise in weight gain. So you'll see even famous OB-GYNs saying menopause is not related to weight gain. Okay. But it doesn't mean we're not gaining weight. Okay. Women are gaining weight at a rate average of 1 to 1.5 pounds per year, starting at about age 35, and it levels off at about age 65. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that is unrelated. That slope doesn't change with menopause, but here's what's changing, and dramatically.
Yeah.
Your body composition. So you are losing muscle accelerated the 2 to 3 years before your period stops. There's an inflection in the curve. The slope goes up dramatically, and you are gaining body fat dramatically. So you are exchanging fat for muscle. If you do everything, if you're in this amazing plan at 35, you're just living your life, doing everything like I was, like we all were, I got this, I'm good. And then all of a sudden you're like, wham, what's this? I haven't done anything different, anything.
Totally.
And I'm like, this was never taught to me. That article was published in 2021. This is new information, but this has been going on since the beginning of time. And no one ever recognized it, that the woman's body composition is changing dramatically in relation to when her period stops. And so, and it's leading to dramatic changes in her health. So yes, there are things you can do. So if your listeners take nothing away from this, the top, these are things that are studied. So different ways to measure visceral or belly fat. One is the DEXA scan. That's a gold standard, but not everybody has access to that. A really kind of easy way is called the waist hip ratio. And I talk about it in the book, where you measure the tiniest part of your waist and the widest part of your hips around your butt. And you divide those two with waist divided by hip, right? Just the way you're built. Yeah. And if it's less than 0.7, you're good. You probably don't have a lot of visceral or intra-abdominal fat, okay? Which is the dangerous fat.
Okay.
If it's greater
the other
than
kind,
one,
I didn't mean to interrupt, is subcutaneous fat.
Subcutaneous. Yeah. So subcutaneous fat is the fat you've known your whole life. That is the fat that gives us curves. It's in our breasts, it's in our butt. It gives us cellulite. It's cosmetically distressing, but it's not that dangerous in modest amounts. Okay. Visceral fat above a certain level becomes an inflammatory organ, pumping out cytokines, leading to chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, increasing risk of diabetes, hypertension, stroke, all the chronic, inflammatory diseases. And so women who do the following have a much lower chance of developing this visceral fat shunt. Okay. One, hormone replacement therapy in the form of estrogen plus or minus progesterone, not testosterone. Okay. Number two, not to say there's not a benefit for testosterone for other things, but not for that. Number two is fiber, watching your fiber intake, getting at least 25 grams per day for a woman. I think it's about 38 for a man, in case you have any male listeners. Number three is both aerobic and these are no-brainers.
Yeah.
Now, remember, our body wants to shed muscle. It is a hormone phenomena. You have got to work to hang on to it. And so making sure you're getting adequate protein, women who have 1 to 1.5 grams per kilogram of lean body mass, and this is all built into the program, have less visceral fat because they have more muscle. Okay.
Yes.
And doing consistent resistance training at least 2 days a week of upper body, lower body, and core, as well as cardio. So cardio is to keep our, I tell our followers and my students and my patients, stop exercising to be skinny. Take that out of your mind. Stop counting calories. Get that out of your head. We exercise. We move our bodies to be strong. Okay. No one cares what you look like in a bikini at 70. And that's what we're here for. We are here for you to be living your best life. You're that woman at 70 who is kicking ass and taking names. And if you don't make the changes today, look at what your mom's going through, your aunts, is that the life you want? Like, what behaviors do you need to adopt to get that life you want in 20 years as healthy as possible? Because the body and the life I have now was set 20 years ago. And the body I'm going to have in 20 years, I'm making right now.
That's so important to take that in. That's so important. We're laying the foundation for our future health, our current and future health.
Stop making it about vanity, make it about health.
Totally. That's why I never liked that 50 is the new 30. It's like my body, I don't want to compare my body to my 30-year-old body. I'll never be in that body again. And that's okay.
70. I'm like, I've never been happier. My kids, I am in a privileged position. My kids are thriving. They are checking the boxes. They are happy young women who are making a difference in the world. They are, doing well in school. My oldest just got into medical school. She's got a plan, my youngest wants to be social media and marketing and whatever, I'm just like, go girls, do you, be strong, be brave, take names, don't take no for an answer. And so, I don't go to bed worrying about my kids. Thank God, and I was able to walk away from a practice that was no longer serving me and open the practice of my dreams, which is menopause care.
Well, that's why you're a beautiful role model, not just for your daughters, but also for the women listening in terms of what's possible. And you're so lit up though, like you're clearly on a mission and you're going to leave no woman behind. Like that's the energy I get. I love it. And I think you want to bring the doctors along next, but let me ask, does the program address, so I feel like we hear a lot about perimenopause and menopause. There's postmenopause, but is that technically just menopause and this helps those women? Because I've had women write me and say, where was this information for me 9 years ago? I can't lose the weight still. This is going to help them, or?
This is, the book is helpful for everyone, even your partners, even your sons, even your, because for most households, The mom is usually running the kitchen still, not in every household.
Yeah.
And so they're calling me and being like, my husband lost more weight than me.
On the plan,
Yeah.
that's one of my questions.
Yeah. Like he's eating what I'm eating because I'm cooking. And he's like, look at me, of course, because he's a man. And so, but when I say menopause, like everyone's getting tied up in the terminology. The actual menopause is one day in your life. It is 1 year exactly after your last menstrual period ends.
Okay.
That is the clinical definition. And then the rest of your life is postmenopause. So but when I say menopausal, I use it as a catch-all,
Got it. So this is in fact for all of perimenopausal in any stage. Yeah. So I did have that question because I have a teen. She's 14. I wouldn't have her do the intermittent fasting that's built in, and you note that in the book anyway. But
teaching her about anti-inflammatory nutrition.
Yes, but she can eat like this with me.
Yeah, laying that foundation down would be amazing. Like, teaching her the benefit of why not just like each vegetables are good for you, but like there's science in there about, anthocyanins and sulforaphanes and like these parts of the vegetables and the fruits and the legumes and the seeds and the nuts that keep you healthy and feed, teaching her about the gut microbiome and how important it is. And not to say she's never going to have a cookie or eat candy or, but it's all about balance. And the majority of what you do should be, we don't want to give anybody an eating disorder or restriction, but there's nothing wrong about teaching good nutrition to your kid just without guilt or shame.
Totally. And I got certified as a holistic health coach about 8 years ago. And I feel like I'm constantly being like, well, that's more sugar than you need. And this stuff. And then part of me is like, okay, she's a teen, but I
did say I'm a reformed almond mom. Or ingredient mom. My oldest is like, you were actually more of an ingredient mom, but like they sent me a video and it was a mom. Now this is from years ago, a mom who was eating, pasta. It was pasta night at their house. And the mom in the video was on TikTok was eating sauce and salad. And I have done that. And they were like, but then this woman came on after, it was like a stitch. And she said, instead of like railing on the mom for not having pasta, let's rail on society for the mom feeling like she couldn't have pasta that night. Like she had to be a certain size. And for years before my journey into all nutrition and everything, I just wanted to be thin. Like that was how I defined my health, how I defined my self-worth, how I defined how I looked was to be thin. And now that I have a body scanner and I see that I have low muscle mass and I'm super high risk for osteoporosis, if I could go back in time and let that woman eat, let myself eat and focus on building muscle and being stronger and not so much about looking a certain way in her dress or fitting. I mean, it's just ridiculous what we're doing to our health in order to meet some crazy society standard of beauty.
100%, or even just how you're comfortable in your own skin. So I've always been naturally thin. And then I saw a photo of myself from behind in the last year. And I was like, who is that? That's not me and my jeans. I was like, what's happening? And I started paying attention to the headaches and what's up with the receding hairline. And so how do you know if some of this is genetic versus hormonal?
So hair loss, I have a whole YouTube video on that. It's like an hour because there's so many things that feed into it. There's definitely a genetic component for some women. It could be a nutrition deficiency. It could be hormones. It could be, and so that's a very long conversation. And sometimes a dermatologist has to get involved. But what kills me is like all these hair loss formulas and potions and lotions come up. But Emily, it might work. It just depends on, we have to figure out why this is happening to you. Yeah. And some of this can overlap. So you can spend $90 a month on vitamins, but you don't have a nutrient deficiency. This is genetic and we need to treat you with spironolactone or something that's going to block the testosterone. That's why you're losing your hair, especially, where you're losing it. There are, dermatitis conditions, there, autoimmune conditions. One of my husband's best friend's wife was losing it in patches and she had an autoimmune disorder and had to do steroids. And, so it's complicated. That's a tough one.
Okay. The hair one, I thought it was, but I didn't even know about the joint pain, which I've been getting too. I was like, oh, that's part of perimenopause, menopause, so helpful. But what I love about your program, Dr. Haver, is that it's not just going to help with the belly fat. It's not going to just help you get strong. It's going to help your whole health outlook. And it's going to help prevent potentially cancers and heart disease and stroke risk and autoimmune disease. Like that's what I took away because it's so anti-inflammatory. It's high in fiber. My parents keep saying, you need more fiber in your diet. I'm like, and you've got the list of the foods, which I love. I know you say you can take a supplement, but I like trying to do it with food.
Right. We don't supplement our way out of poor nutritional choices. The majority of your nutrition can come from food. We supplement gaps. So if you can't get it in,
it's a lot, 25 grams, right? Or right.
Lot,
So I'm right. I'm always like
avocados. That kind of helps me hit my goal.
Right. That's like 10 grams right there, right? For one. Right. Yes. It's like, I'm like, oh, how can I like squeeze in an avocado today? I love that. I want to, we're getting close to the end. So, it includes intermittent fasting. Everyone can just pick up the book. It's called The Galveston Diet. I'll put the links. But is there anything that I didn't ask that you just really want to make sure the women take away from this conversation? I mean, this whole thing around perimenopause, menopause, it seems like it's top of mind now. It's having its moment, but
it's having a moment, but don't lose the momentum. You deserve a menopause that is pain-free. You're not hot flashing. You're sleeping every night. No one expects to be 25 again. Aging is normal. Suffering is not and should never be accepted. So if you need resources, if you go to our website at galvestondiet.com and just go through our blogs, I have how to advocate for yourself at your doctor's office, what lab tests to offer. Here's some nutritional tips if you've got hot flashes, nutritional tips if you have brain fog, free. Just go, look, read, educate yourself, and sometimes you have to be your own advocate in your healthcare provider's office and educate them. I have, for hormone therapy, I have articles you can download, print out, and take to your doctor in support of you, at least having. Every woman may not choose hormone replacement therapy, and I respect that, your body, your choice, but you absolutely deserve the conversation.
Love it. I am so grateful for your time, for the work you're doing in the world. You mentioned galvestondiet.com. Where else can people connect with you? And, you're all over social. Where do you like to hang out the most? Where should I send them?
These days, I hang out a lot on TikTok and on Instagram. Those are my two biggest, kind of most engaged. And I'm Dr. Mary Claire on those. And then on Facebook, we are, if you just put in Mary Claire Haver, it will come up. It's Mary Claire Haver, The Galveston Diet. We also have a YouTube channel under my name and The Galveston Diet as well. And we are on Pinterest. We're kind of everywhere. So, but our biggest where I'm like spending most of my time is Instagram and TikTok.
I'm not on TikTok, but I love watching you on Instagram. But people should just follow her wherever you hang out because she's there. And this information is just so vital and important. And this book it's so easy too. It's like all the information and the recipes and how to structure it. So thank you for what you're doing. I look forward to keep watching you and seeing what's next. And I know that you do have a plan to help educate doctors as well. I think that's your next step, right?
Yeah, I'm going to, my clinic is super successful. We actually have 100-something plus person waiting list. And I am developing a program so I can teach other healthcare providers the protocol on how I treat menopause in clinic. Because we do a top to bottom nutrition, exercise, supplements if you need them, hormone therapy, non-hormonal, other prescriptions and stress reduction and sleep, just trying to make sure we're covering all the bases so you can be as healthy as possible.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for your time today.
You're welcome.
Wow, I loved this conversation with Dr. Haver. All of the show notes for today can be found at thegoodlifecoach.com. You'll find a link to Dr. Haver's best-selling book, The Galveston Diet, to her website, to all her social media, to the articles that we talked about today. And it sounds like she's got a ton of information that you can access both on YouTube and also on her website. So I encourage you to do that. And I also encourage you to share this interview with every female friend you have who is either in perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, or approaching menopause. Because I think the more informed you are going into it, you don't have to navigate a lot of the struggles that a lot of women have had to do solo because they had no one to talk to about it, including, unfortunately, their own doctors. So we're seeing a common theme here with the doctors coming on the show that a lot of time women are gaslit and they're not taken seriously. And the way we're going to change that conversation is by empowering one another with this kind of information so that we are working together to impact what we expect from healthcare and have them ultimately respond. And I'm really hopeful that this is going to happen because there's so many of these incredible doctors like Dr. Haver who are making a change to how the medical system is practiced and how information is disseminated. So share this interview. Visit thegoodlifecoach.com for all the show notes and all the links. And be sure to follow the podcast on your favorite podcast player so that you get all of the upcoming interviews straight to your listening device. I've been enjoying this season and the guests that we've been having, and I hope that you have as well. And I will be back with you next Wednesday. Bye for now.